hear. Can I have a chime in from my lovely players?
Hello, can you hear us?
Awesome. Okay, so it is showing up. I don't know why it wasn't showing up
Yay.
in here. Tech, would you mind verifying that it's showing up in Twitch before we move much further? Yep, it is. Great. Okay, so I'm gonna go back over a couple of things that I did in the other stream that I started, so it's all in one spot. So, welcome, stream, to this evening's fun. We're going to start up a brand new campaign together. This is a brand new group of people that I have never campaigned with before. We are going to play a game that we will make up. A lot of what we're going to do in the session 0 today is not actually playing the game, but building putting together the building blocks of what game we're going to play. So we're going to talk about character stuff. We're going to talk about world building stuff. We're going to talk about things we'd like to see in the game. We're going to talk about things we'd rather not see in the game. We're going to talk about consent. We're going to hopefully have a very good time. Feel free to say, to have any questions you'd like in the chat, and I will absolutely address them. It might take me a minute because I'll be focusing on my players, but please feel free to ask me anything you want. A lot of us in here have varying amounts of experience running games or being in games, so we should be able to answer most questions. So we'll do introductions really quickly. My name is Shauna, also referred to as Spoon. I will be the game master for this game. I have about a decade of experience with tabletop RPGs. I've only been playing D&D for about a year, but on that note, I am running, as of today, 3 campaigns, and I'm playing in 2 others, and I run regular one-shots of Dungeons & Doggies. So, it's addictive, folks, but it is also lots of fun. You'll see why in a little bit. So Sarah, can you kick off our introductions, please?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm normally a therapist, but I'm not a therapist here, and I'm excited about it. This is going to be my first campaign.
Yay.
I do lots of mental health and gaming stuff, and I'm excited to just be a player and do something great and try something new.
Awesome. Elizabeth, take it away.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I am 10 weeks away from my PhD in clinical psychology, and as part of my jobs, I run a lot of therapeutic and social skills tabletop games with adults and children and veterans who are adults. But I am really excited because I never get to play in campaigns, and so I'm really excited to be a player with Spoon.
Yay, this is going to be fun. I'm just updating our Twitter. Tyler, take it away.
Hello, my name is Tyler. I use they, them pronouns, and I help run the Dots RPG project, an accessibility in gaming organization. I have been playing D&D for about 4 years, mostly running, so I'm excited to finally maybe have a committed campaign to be a part of. And I am primarily a cat person, which these other lovely people here will forgive me for.
I love cats too, so don't worry about that. I have a 20-year-old old man named Midnight Snack who I will commit felonies for. He's my favorite.
Oh, and I am also blind in case that comes up, because there might be some extra descriptions of things that people might go, wait, why are they talking about that? Because I can't see what's on the screen.
Yep, thank you. And Winnie, or Hannah, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm Hannah. My character's name is Winnie, which is why it says Winnie on the screen. I use she, her pronouns. And I first played D&D over 15 years ago.
Dang.
Back with some folks in my hometown. And just work got busy, life got busy, college was busy. So I actually started up again about 3 years ago. And so I play in several games, and then I also run 2 games. One is Harry Potter themed, which is super, super fun, and everybody's having a blast being adults in the Wizarding world.
I want to play it.
Yes, I will be running it, hopefully virtually, Steam for some folks all around the country who want to play.
Me.
Yes, you will definitely be one of them.
Sorry.
And it'd be really cool to like write it down and like capture everything so that it's like a little, it's going to be a multi-shot. It's not like a full campaign necessarily, but it probably will turn into a full campaign. Knowing my players. And I live in Texas. I'm a dog and a horse mom, which keeps me super busy in addition to all the D&D that I do. So I'm super excited to be here. This is going to be so fun.
Yay. I don't know if I said it earlier. I also use she, her pronouns. Okay, let's see. I wanted to pull up. So let me tell StreamStream a little bit about how this came to be. So the purpose of the stream today is to give the internet an idea of what do you do when you want to start up a campaign. And keep in mind that this is advice. This is kind of how I did it. You can copy me, have fun. You can do it your own way, have fun. This should not be considered like the way you have to do it. So what I wanted to do was play with these specific players, because I've played with them in a couple of other places, and I really wanted to tell a story with them. So I'm mostly a storytelling GM, and so that was where I started. And then I was like, well, what could we start? And I started talking to them like, hey, would you be interested in joining a campaign? And I pinged 2 of them at a time, and I pinged 3 other people who didn't want to join, which is fine. And when I got my minimum viable group, which for me is 4 people, I put them all in a group together. That group communication can be whatever works for you. For us, it was text. And I told them, I started that text thread with, hey, y'all agreed to be in one of my weird games on these days and these times, and with this loose theme. Let's get started. And that's how we really started. You can do that to either start a really long-term campaign. The other 2 campaigns that I have running don't have an end date. This one actually we're starting with a published adventure. When we get to the end of that published adventure, we'll sync offline probably and be like, who wants to keep going? If anybody wants to keep going, we'll try and keep that going. If somebody doesn't, they don't have to. We'll still remain friends. It might be this is just not the right fit for them, which is fine. It might be they just don't have time, which is fine. That's an okay thing to do. You can hop in and out of campaigns as long as the expectations are set. I'm setting the expectations with my players that I would love to play with them through this module, but if this isn't a good fit for them, no hard feelings, and we'll either try and make it a better fit, or I'll help them try and find another campaign. It also might not be the best fit for me at the end of the day. This might be a little bit too much of a load for me because I'm running a couple of other campaigns, and these players understand that as well. So you've noticed probably that I've set expectations a bunch. I'm going to keep saying that. When you start up a new campaign, it behooves you to set very clear expectations. Those might change, right? But if you set the expectations and they're clear around the party, you're going to have a much better time of it. So in the text thread, the expectations I set with this group particularly was the technology that I expected to use for this campaign. I called out at the very beginning that it was going to be a streamed campaign when I was gauging their interest. And I told them why, that I wanted to use it as an example for how to start up a campaign. I told them that I wanted to use Discord, and the way that I would be using Discord was as a voice channel, which would be captured for the stream, as text channels so that I can talk to each player individually. There's a text channel for world building stuff, so I'll put recaps and other world pertinent information in there. There's a text channel for the campaign, so all of the players are in there. They can say whatever they want. There's a text channel for the closed captions that we use, because those links refresh. We need those every time we set this up. There's a campaign PC only channel, and there's a session channel. So the session channel is going to be where we talk to each other during the session. My mods will be in and out of there answering questions, and if the group wants to ask the group something while we're playing, that's a good place to look for it. So I set those kinds of expectations. I also set the expectation that we will be using webcaptioner.com in order to capture these web captions. They're not the best, you'll notice. They're not like 100%, but I don't know. I think they should be, and I think the more everybody uses them, they'll get better. Tyler, you're muted, but I did just see your web caption say they're very bad. So that's a good point. If you mute your microphone with software, but you don't mute the hardware microphone, Web Captioner will still pick you up. So just keep that in mind. So I set the expectation we'll use Web Captioner because accessibility is very important to me. I don't know everything. I will someday, but today I don't. So I've been told that that makes my stream more accessible, so we use it. I also set the expectation we'll be using D&D Beyond to store the character information. I do that because it's easy for me to give items, and it's easy for me to double check when I'm balancing my sessions, or if I want to need a story hook and I can go look to see if somebody has a weapon I can like make magical or something like that. It's just an easy place for me to like, we don't have to duplicate notes and things. D&D Beyond isn't the most accessible to those using screen readers, and so Tyler will be using probably, I haven't asked you about this, Tyler, will you be using something else besides D&D Beyond?
A combination of tools and software.
Great. So if you have questions about that, feel free to ping, we'll say right now, ping my Twitter, and I'll talk to Tyler later about how they would like to have those questions funneled to them. But just for right now, because I don't want to ask for consent in live stream, just ping me for now, and I'll connect you with whoever I can later. So yeah, D&D Beyond for all the character stuff. But yes, D&D Beyond, make your screen reader web caption stuff better, please. Please, please, please. I bet if D&D Beyond makes themselves a leader in the industry, others will follow. Anyway, so those are the three big tech expectations I set with my players. Oh, hi, Wordman. Wordman's a friend of mine. Thank you for joining the stream. I'm also using Arkenforge to build maps. I use Streamlabs OBS to collect all the stuff and throw it up onto the internet. I use Twitch to stream it, and then I export it up into YouTube. What else do I use? I think that's it for big tech stuff. Oh, I also use GoodNotes on an iPad to collect all of my notes about stuff, because I take a lot of notes and I like to keep them digital. Again, if you guys have any questions, please let us know. And do any of my players have questions?
Feeling good?
Cool. All right, so some of the things that I would like to go over with you guys. So stream, this is where I'm going to start paying attention to the players. The things that I want to go over with you is, a lot of you know this about me, but I like to run collaborative storytelling games. I am not out to get you, and it will honestly confuse me if you play your character as if they're trying to beat the GM. It causes confusion. So just know that I intend this to be collaborative storytelling. What that means is a lot of the questions I'll ask you guys, there won't be a right answer. I'm just interested in your answer, because that'll help shape the world. That also means when you make decisions in the world, if you decide to, use some big bad magical thing to blow up a mountain range, that's going to impact the world, and that'll impact my other campaigns, because I use the same map for all of them. You may even run across pieces that the other campaigns will run into. I created a character in one campaign, and it will show up in another one. So, know that. I think it's more fun that way. I do refer to rules as written and rules as intended, for sure, and I use them as a framework. We start there. We start with the rules as written, rules as intended. But I am absolutely prone to hand-wavy bullshit. So if something seems like it'd be cooler if we did it this way, I will do that. And if you've got a really good reason for doing it that way, we'll do it. It's all about telling a really good story. Any questions about that? Cool. I use a lot of
That's super cool.
Great. I use a lot of homebrew content, which means I've been writing since I was 4, and I can't help myself. I actually will write some of the sessions ahead of time as using your character voices to try and get an idea of how it might play out, so that I can better visualize the world. The world is persistent in my brain, so if you're wandering around a village, it's a smaller area, but if, like, say you're wandering around a village or chasing somebody through the village, I know where most of the other people are in relation to you. That is just how my brain sort of sees things. And so in order to tell the story, I really have to be able to visualize it. Go ahead and jump in at any point with questions, by the way. I'm just looking at some notes I have. Let's see here. I'm going to start asking you guys some questions about your character. You'll notice that Hannah has created Winnie. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what your thoughts were behind this character, Hannah?
Yeah, so let me make sure my captioning is working. for some reason with these headphones, like it picks up what you're saying, Shauna.
Yeah,
And so
that happens.
like I have to like stop the captioning, otherwise it looks like I'm talking and I'm not.
That's okay. Thank you.
I think it's like a headphone thing. I need to just get gamer headphones. That would probably be the best option.
They're helpful.
So yeah, so Winnie is a character that I have played in a previous campaign as a druid, and I wanted a little bit of a different take on her because furbolgs are so interesting as a race, being that they're very nomadic and they kind of live in the forest away from everybody. And so, you know, what is the reasoning why they would join a group of people and go off on an adventure when they really just live with their families and their clans in the forest away from the rest of civilization? So furbolgs are really cool to me, and of course I really liked what's his face in Critical Role? Can't think of his name.
I don't know who you're
Caduceus.
I don't know who
Caduceus?
well, Caduceus, but also what's his name? He has Prime, and he has like several copies of himself.
Umatsol.
Pumatsol, yes.
Thanks, Tyler.
Like, there's a lot of
Thanks,
fun
Tyler.
that you can have with furbolgs, and I think for this character specifically, she is, when she was a druid, it was more she left her clan because she sought wisdom and she sought knowledge, and she was a researcher and wanted to know more about what was out there in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, in kind of rebooting her and rethinking her a little bit, the reason that she was kind of driven from her home is because her entire family was wiped out.
Okay.
And she was the only one that survived. And that kind of that anger and that pain has driven her to try and make sure that never happens to anybody else.
Got it. So you're actually repurposing a character you've used before,
Yes.
and that's great. That's completely fine. Yeah, I love that. I like that you're trying something else out, right? Like with a character you've already established a relationship with, but you want to try and go in a different direction. Does that sound right?
Yep, exactly.
Perfect. Cool. So I know that not all of you have created characters, which is completely fine. I know that some of you have some ideas around what you're interested in playing. Are any of you willing to share any of that right now?
I can share. I
Yeah.
have a character that is halfway created.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still filling in a lot of pieces, but I have all of the base pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you about that.
Yeah, tell me more.
Yeah. So her name that was decided approximately 45 minutes ago is Freya Boltweaver, and she is a human Tempest Domain cleric, and she came out of, she's a new character, but I played an Aarakocra Tempest Domain cleric in a one shot, and I had so much fun. I normally don't play spellcasty things because I'm like, they're too complicated and I don't want to think about it. But I had a great time and I had so much fun, especially because Tempest Domain clerics, they're not, at least the way I play them, they're not very good at healing, but they're really good at creating lightning and thunder and stuff, and that's cool.
Yeah, Tech Soup really enjoys that you're playing a Tempest cleric. They're really
I'm so excited. Yeah, so I'm not going to be a good healer. So if anyone else was like, man, I wanted to pleat, yeah, I'm not filling that role very well.
You bring up a really good point. If you don't mind me jumping in really quickly,
please do.
There, in my mind, there isn't an ideal party, and I know people, Tech Soup, who will argue with me about that. But I want you guys to play the character that you would like to play. And if you're like, okay, that's too vague for me, like I need more direction, then I will help you with that. But play the character you want to play. It's up to me to make the world playable for you, right? Like, try not to be too mean. But yeah, so keep going.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, and I wholeheartedly agree with you because especially if your goal is to tell a story as a group, then like a whole group of clerics is in an interesting way to tell a story.
Mhm.
I feel like the fighting against the GM is really only when like the ideal party comes more into play, is if it's like a competition between players and GM. So if you're not playing it that way, then
Yeah,
I don't know.
TechSoup pointed out that there's mechanically optimal and then there's fun, and that they're two
Yes.
very different things. I am not good at the
Yes.
mechanically optimal stuff because I do not have the rules memorized, and I know people that do. Like TechSoup actually runs his own campaign, and he does know all of the rules, and so mechanically optimal for him is fun. But for me, that just stresses me out. I was running a Shadowrun campaign for 2 years, and it was a lot of fun, but it was very mechanically heavy, and I got really bogged down. So I switched to D&D where I could be like, and this thing appears, which made me feel a lot better. So
Yes, so thinking about mechanically optimal, I feel like the Aarakocra race was a great mix with a Tempest Cleric, and I just don't feel connected with Aarakocra, and I don't care. I think they're really cool,
yeah,
and they're not me. So I picked human,
yep,
which I don't normally go with, but I've decided to make more of a fantasy Elizabeth this time. So we'll see how that goes.
that'll be very
Um,
interesting.
yeah, so I haven't totally fleshed out like her background and stuff.
Mhm.
So I have, I think, more of an idea of how she's going to kind of like operate mechanically and exist in this space.
Great.
But I haven't totally figured out like why she is the way that she is. So that will be coming.
That'll be great. And a lot of I've seen players start with the background and then build mechanics that way. Tech and I were helping a new player the other day, and she started out with like, I want to hit stuff, and we were like, cool, fighter. And then she was like, well, but I also want to do spells, and we were like, cool, ranger. What's the motivation behind the hitting? Is it like to save people because maybe that's paladin? And like, so you can use the backstory and like the motivation behind the character to inform the mechanics, or you could take the mechanics and have that inform your backstory. That's completely fine. I have another player who did it that way. He wanted to play Wordman, I'm going to talk about you. He wanted to play a Furbolg warlock, and he didn't have a lot of backstory behind it, so that actually gave me some opportunity to be like, well, how about this? Which my husband refers to as a coin flip. I throw something out there, and if you hate it, we don't have to do it, but it might give you an idea of what you want instead. And so his backstory has been left a little open, and we're able to make some changes behind that, which, by the way, Wordman, I want to talk to you about later. Okay, thanks, bye. So yeah, mechanics first, backstory first, motivation first, your favorite color. We'll all get there in the end. That's perfect. Sarah or Tyler, do you have any ideas for your character you'd like to share right now?
I can probably build from there.
Great.
I think I have a similar experience to Hannah, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't have a character. Well, I have some names in mind. I don't have a character created just yet because I wasn't sure coming into this which of two ideas I was going to pick, and I'm still a little in the air about that, which is something that DMs will have to deal with. Is indecisive players.
That's okay.
For the character I'm leaning more towards, I've also played before, but never was able to play her in a campaign. It was a one-shot or a campaign that fell apart. But I built the character with... It started with, I want to play a warlock. I want to play a celestial warlock. These are the mechanics I find interesting.
Right.
I want to use these feats in combination with these spells because that would be fun to put into practice in a combat. That was the seed, the spark of it all.
Perfect.
And normally that's kind of what, as I get more exposure and experience with role-playing, that's kind of been the spark in D&D for me, is trying to find out interesting ways to use magic or just special abilities.
Yep.
And with this character in particular, I was able to extrapolate out from the abilities I thought were really neat until I sort of stumbled upon a personality and like a person behind the forced mechanics and the weird numbers I put together.
Yep.
So like my character's name, like her name is Yume, and she inherited it, just odd strange things. Inherited a particular umbrella from her mother, and her father is a beekeeper. Just little cute things like that came from how I interpreted the Celestial Warlock abilities. And I'm not sure how I will take the character this time. I've had ideas of like combining warlock with cleric to get the abilities I want, but if we're taking this campaign in a more role-playing direction, I might not need to. For those who know more about D&D mechanics, I might not need to take first level feat, go shield master, all things like that. I might just be able to take it a little more casual.
Yeah, absolutely. So Wordman wanted to play a celestial warlock in a different campaign, but it never happened, and he's very sad. TechSoup says is called out that celestial warlocks are so good. I've never played with one before, and I'm really interested to see what you do with that. You mentioned this character to me the other day, and I've got to tell you, I've had about 80 ideas since then. And you do not have to pick this character.
Then we get much closer to picking this one.
You don't have to. Elizabeth told me about her character literally, 5 minutes ago, and I've had at least 3 ideas since then. I've never, Hannah told me about her Furbolg a couple days ago, and I've had a million ideas about that, so I'll never want for ideas, so don't, yeah. Sarah, has any of this given you any ideas?
Pardon me how much of a noob that I am.
Oh no, you're not a noob, it's okay.
Not in a bad way, just in a ooh. I'm glad that I'm in good company for character creation because I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. But I'm going to start with a weird riff and tell you that I know what name I want and that I'd make weird choices as a player.
Great, I love that. Tell me more.
But one time I was doing a one shot and we were going through a dungeon. Elizabeth was there, and I literally took half of a zombie that was crawling around, tied him with a rope to have him follow us, strapped swords to him, and flung him around like a helicopter. And that's just kind of the way my brain works all the time. And so I'd really love to just be able to be creative.
I can very clearly see that in my head, so that's gonna work for me. Yeah, go. Chaotic energy. Yes.
I need levity. Yeah, definitely chaotic good. Definitely. And I usually have to be so poised and careful in my therapeutic life that I love to play reckless characters, but I also don't want to be like the dum-dum that messes everything up for everybody. So I don't know. I'm glad I'm going last in this list because the carer in me wants to accommodate the other characters to make it entertaining.
Okay. You don't have to do that. It'll be entertaining no matter what, and I can tell you that with all surety because I have run a bunch of Dungeons and Doggos, thrown random people from the internet together, sometimes given them what I decided that was their characters because they didn't make a choice fast enough, and we have had some wildly weird composition parties, and we've all had a ball. So don't you worry. It's going to be fine. As far as, I'd love to take this moment to say, as far as the chaotic stuff goes, I don't really pay attention to alignments because I think people are more complicated than that in real life. And yeah, so you can absolutely use them to inform your character, but I'm not going to really hold you to stuff. If you tell me that you're the holiest of holy paladins and your god is your bulwark, and then you decide to murder babies, we might have a conversation. But I'm not gonna have God smite you because you were lawful good and you did a chaotic evil thing. Okay.
Yeah. I see alignments as descriptive rather than prescriptive, and that can kind of adapt with you as we read different decisions.
Perfect. Yes, I agree with the same thing. This is also a good time to point out that the collaborative part of the storytelling is that we're kind of entering into an agreement here that we all want to tell a story together. And so if I set something up, like the way this campaign starts, it's going to be very obvious where, what you guys need to do next. And it's going to start with somebody asking you, will you do this? And you decide that your character makes the choice to say, no, I want to go swimming. That's going to make it difficult for us to tell that story because a lot of us plan for what we're going to do next, and a lot of us have we're all agreeing that we're going to tell a story together. That being said, if I'm walking you guys into something where you're like, no, I hate this, let's have a conversation about it. If you honestly believe your character would go swimming instead, let's talk about it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Totally.
All right. Sarah, you said your character had a name. Can I have that? I'm making notes.
Yeah. Battle. And Battle's last name is. I asked random people. I asked my friend to come up with a name for me, and very corny, loving it. Last name is spelled like the French word for love, which is amour, but it's pronounced like Arnold Schwarzenegger would say it. Ama.
So it's spelled Amore, but you pronounce it battle armor.
It's amour
Uh-huh.
with an umlaut over the A,
Great.
the double dot.
Great. But it's
spelled
pronounced.
like armor without. You say it like armor without the R.
Okay. This is going to be interesting. I really like that. Wordman, no, you cannot go swimming. Okay, cool. So you've got a name. That's excellent. If you guys would like, go ahead and using the. I'm just realizing that you may have already done this. Go ahead and start. Oh, you have. You've already done it. Great. Using the D&D Beyond link. Go ahead and try it. Pull up your character sheets. Go ahead and. Wow, I can't talk today. Let's try that again. Back when I was setting tech expectations with you guys, I gave you a D&D Beyond link for this campaign, which I'm currently calling Saturday Campaign, although if at any point you have a good idea for a group name, give it to me immediately because I must start a hashtag. It's very important to me. Go ahead and join that campaign. If you aren't joining with a character you've previously used, or you want to start fresh, just hit add character and either put in a placeholder name. I think you've all mentioned names, so just dump that name in and you can exit out of it and come back at any point. We can save it. It's not a big deal. All right?
Sounds good.
Okay, what else did I want to chat with you guys about? Let's go look at the persistent world. Okay, I'd like to go over some mechanics and house rules that I use in my other campaigns, but I would like to get consent from you before we use them because it does change the basic rules. So I use milestone-based leveling instead of XP because I'm doing a lot of homebrew and I'm doing a lot of random storytelling, and I think if I can fit in why a level up works story-wise, it feels more fun to me than like a da-da-da-da, you're now level 2. I want to story that in. Is that okay with everybody?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I like to use fixed HP instead of rolling because I've watched my husband roll a 1 when leveling up this one character every time, and he's playing like a huge bugbear tank type and his health is so low. So I like using fixed HP to avoid that. That part's not fun for me. Does that sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
I like using something called a brutal critical. So when you roll a natural 20 on an attack, you get to double your damage, but you roll those doubles. So if let's say you're shooting with a longbow and the damage is a d8, instead of rolling 1d8 like you would normally do, you'd roll 2d8. What a brutal critical, what I would like to do is if that's the example, right? Like you've got the 2d8, the one of those d8 remains. I am having the worst time talking. Let me see if I wrote it down. So one of those dies does max damage, and then you roll the other die. The reason I like doing this is if you're going to be... Oh, hi Art by Rhoda. Thank you for joining us. So if you're going to be rolling 2d8 and you roll 2 1s, but it was supposed to be a critical hit... Oh, we got a new follower! Thank you, Art by Rhoda. Thanks for following us. You can follow this whole campaign. So again, if you're gonna roll, if you're doing a critical strike, or a critical hit rather, critical strike something else. If you do a critical hit, you roll a d20 and you roll 2d8, and they both come up 1, and you're only gonna do 2 damage. just does not seem fair. And so if instead in that situation you're at least gonna, roll a 9 because maybe you roll a 1, but you've at least got that solid max hit 8, I think that seems more fair. Now, before you agree to this, know that it applies to both sides. My NPCs do the same thing. And it doesn't apply to things like smite, sneak attack, or any of the ranger nonsense. It's just that one hit die or damage die thing. Does that make sense? I promise I'll go into this in the campaign, and if at any point in the campaign you're like, I hate it, we'll stop. But does it...
I have a question.
Yes, please. I'm so sorry.
So I think that generally makes sense and I'm on board.
Cool.
So my question is, you would just roll one die and then you'd add the max, right?
Yes.
You wouldn't roll both die. Okay.
Yes,
I'm on board. It
that's
sounds
exactly
great.
Elizabeth, thank you for asking a clarifying question. I really appreciate it. So Stream, I'm on the spectrum, and some days it is a little more difficult for me to talk than others, and today is one of those days. And so I'm really happy that Elizabeth asked that clarifying question, because that means she trusts me not to be a brat about it, and I trust her to really want the information. And so that makes me feel better, because I feel like that should help clarify things for the other players if I was confusing. So please ask questions. I'm always open to it. Oh, good. Yes, you've discovered my exclamation point butts funness in Twitch. Yes, butts. I do talk about butts a lot. I apologize. Okay, thank you for the clarifying question, Elizabeth. Does everybody agree to this for now, at least?
I am okay with this method, and I'm actually happy to hear that the brutalness is only on the weapon die and not on additional damage dice from other abilities. It makes it seem a lot less devastating.
Yeah, it does apply to spells as well. I noticed you said weapon die there. It does apply to spells as well, but not the extra stuff, not the hunter's mark, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. Hannah or Sarah, opinions? You good?
No, it's very similar to what I run in my games.
Fantastic. Just to back up a second, brutal critical is actually something you can Google. The thing there that I specify, that the stuff that I said where it doesn't apply to like the smite or the extra stuff, that is actually an edit by TechSoup that he uses in his games, and he recommended to me when I first started running a campaign, and I super agree with him. So I'll just call out really quickly that TechSoup is one of my mods. He's also my rules scholar, so if I have a question about the rules and it's very important, he will answer it for me because he knows a lot. I really enjoy having Tech in my campaigns, and I am a little nervous to run one without him, I'm not gonna lie. He knows all the rules. It's gonna be fine. Okay. So let's see here. The other thing is that I wanted to chat about is reimagining the racial traits. So this is something that you can find actually on D&D Beyond's website, and I actually link it. I will put this in Twitch. The reason I like to do this is that it's always seemed weird to me to have the racial scores affect abilities, and in the interest of sort of ignoring all of that or reimagining it, D&D Beyond gives everybody 3 options. So let's see if I can pull this up and if it will show up on the stream. It sure will. So again, I'm on D&D Beyond's website, and feel free to read all of this, and that's completely fine. But what I want to draw your attention to is option 3. So when you choose your class, you assign a +2 to 1 ability score available to your class. Then when you choose your background, you assign a +1 to the ability score specified by your background. So does that make sense? And do you have questions?
That makes sense to me. I don't understand mechanically how to do it in D&D Beyond.
Excellent. I actually don't either, so Tech is hopefully going to help us with that.
Okay.
D&D Beyond actually lets you edit a lot of things, and if you've gotten to the part of your character sheet where you have, I don't know why I didn't put this higher in the list, but when you're editing your character sheet, when you get to the ability scores area, you're going to enter those manually because we're actually going to roll for them. Is that the next thing? Yeah, we're going to roll stats for your characters today.
Got it. Okay.
Right now, together, as friends. If we all agree on this. I like to roll stats as a group, and so each of you will roll 4d6 or 1d6 4 times. You'll drop the lowest number, you'll total the highest 3, and you'll use that as an ability score. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
That totally makes sense. Thank you.
Now there's 4 of you, and there's more than 4 ability scores, and my brain is abandoning me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can either roll the last 2, or 2 of you can roll again. Does this sound okay with everybody?
I believe so. For clarity, those aren't fixed. You don't roll in order, and you're stuck with what you get. You get a pool of results, and then you assign them. Correct?
Yes, exactly. So what we'll do is we'll do all this rolling, and I'll write all the numbers down, and then we'll go into our character sheets together, and you can put them wherever you want. And so what can end up happening is you can end up with some interesting mechanics when you do that. But you still get the choice of, like, if you're playing a barbarian and the highest thing you rolled was a 15, like maybe you want to put that in strength or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Now, Hannah, I know you're using another character that you've built before. Are you comfortable with doing this?
Yes, I actually re-rolled my stats and everything. I re-rolled the character from the ground up because the character that I played before was, I think, at level like 11 or 12. So yeah,
Okay. So are you okay re-rolling with us as a group?
absolutely.
Okay. Any objections?
Not
All
at
right.
all.
Why don't we do this now? Yeah, let's go ahead and do this right now. Has everybody got at least 1d6?
Yes.
I have my
Yes.
notebook. Elizabeth, you said yes first, so can you roll your d6 4 times and tell me what the number is each time?
Yes. 6. 6. 5. This is the nicest this die has ever been to me. You said 4 times?
Yes, please.
4.
Okay, so we're going to drop the 4. We're going to add up the numbers above it. I do not like doing math for my players, but just for
With
funsies.
6, 5.
Yep, so that's 17. So that's our first number. All right, Hannah, you
Wow,
said...
starting strong.
Yep, we are starting strong. Hannah, you're going to... I heard you say you had dice next, so can you do the same thing? Roll me a d6 4 times, please. Yeah, I know,
Yes.
TechSoup, that's a high number.
I got a 6.
Oh, God.
Another 6.
Oh, my God.
Another 6. Oh my god. And a 5.
Well, we're going to drop the 5, and we're going to have an 18, and that's going to be real interesting. So neither of you get to roll again. All right, Sarah, Tyler, who wants to roll next?
Sure.
Tyler, you're up.
I'm using a digital roller
Sure.
for convenience, and I got 6, 1, 6, 2, so that's a 14.
Perfect. And Sarah, you're up. You've got dice, right?
Oof. 1,
Cool.
6,
Great.
2,
Mm-hmm.
2. Great.
Okay.
10.
So that's 10.
Yikes.
Okay. So
Thanks, dice.
we need 2 more numbers. Does anybody want to roll again? Would you like me to roll? How do you want to do this? We can have somebody in chat roll if you'd like.
Can you say that again?
So we have 2 more numbers to generate.
Okay.
So I asked if anybody wanted to roll again, or if we'd like to have somebody in chat roll for us.
I would
if
love
we
for somebody in
trust.
chat to roll. That
Okay.
seems fun.
Are
So
we contributing to one person's
Nope.
character stats?
You're all going to use these numbers.
Oh,
Oh, we're all
interesting.
sharing the same array. Okay.
You're going to share the same array, but you're going to distribute them however you want. Art by Rhoda, go ahead. Now, we're trusting you, so please tell the truth. What are the 4 numbers you roll on a d6, please?
Don't let us down.
There is a delay from what you guys are seeing and hearing to Twitch, so we'll wait for them. This is fun. The internet is helping. Yay.
Yay, internet.
That's okay, Rhoda. Take your time. Yeah, yay, internet. Tyler, which digital die are you using? Just curious.
Rolls.org.
Cool. Does anybody mind sharing which dice brand they're using?
I'm using Level Up. I have a watermelon tourmaline set, and I love them, but the D20 hates me.
That's
Which makes life
gorgeous.
more interesting.
It does make life more interesting. Yeah, that's a gorgeous set. I am a Diceomancer, as you can see on the bottom right hand of the screen, and if you care to look into what that is, down below this video, there's a matching symbol, and if you click on it, it'll take you to the Level Up Dice website. I love their dice. I have way too many of them. This one is currently my favorite, and I'm going to try the thing that Sarah taught me. Let's see if this will work.
Yay, screen camera.
Could you guys see this?
Yes.
Isn't that pretty?
Good job.
That's so pretty.
This one's my prettiest. Sarah, what kind of dice are you using?
Basically, I'm using Level Up dice. I am using the ionized crystal, the clear quartz right here, this bad boy, with my lovely hangnails from washing my hands so very often.
Oh, chat or stream can't see you there.
Oh, well, for the party. Good.
Great.
No
yes.
hangnails.
But
But apparently the D6 hates me, so it's fine.
well, if it makes you feel any better, Art by Rhoda rolled a 1, a 2, a 2, and a 3. Thank you, Art by Rhoda. So that's a 7, which, for the record, is a wonderful number. Says like 7 Spoon. It's my favorite number. So thanks, Rhoda. That's a good number. So great. Does anybody else in stream want to roll a 4d6 for us? Wordman, you want to get in on this? I don't know if he's still listening. And Hannah, what kind of dice are you using today?
I don't know what kind of dice they are. I got 2 of the different sets off of Etsy from like independent creators.
Very cool.
One of them it's like a metal, for people who are on our Discord can see it. It's like a metal rainbow
Beautiful.
colored dice, and the D1 says fuck.
That's awesome.
Great. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So yeah, that's my favorite dice. So yeah, I have 4 different kinds that I'm using.
That's fantastic. I love dice of all kinds, and Level Up Dice is not a sponsor. I just love their dice. But you can use any dice you want as long as they're, supposedly weighted correctly. Art by Rhoda gave us another set. Is that okay with you guys for using 2 rolls from the same human? You good with that?
Sure.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, we've got 6631. They made a comment that they sent Hannah photo evidence. Hannah, is this a human you know?
Yes, this is a human that I know. I didn't want to call her out if she didn't want to identify herself. But yes, I do know this human. I used to work with her back in my hometown.
Well, welcome, and thank you so much for streaming with us tonight. So, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we've got our array. I can give it to you in numerical order. And y'all can write this down, or you can enter it straight into your sheets. I'm happy to go over this as many times as you want. It'll stay in my notebook forever.
So question about entering into our sheets. On Roll20, it looks like we can do things like we can change our modifiers, which would allow us to like remove the racial bonuses and add it, or we can put in just an override score. Do you have a recommendation for which way we do it?
Yes. It helps if I'm looking at a sheet.
You can click on mine.
I don't
Or any of
see-
them,
yes, here.
obviously.
Yeah. Let's see here. Nope, your character's not ready yet. Tech, can you remember? I don't remember how to put that.
So it's like you can put in another modifier. So your modifier could be. My question is, does that make the leveling up easier if you add, like, so my racial bonus for strength is +1, and so I could just say like, okay, -1 from whatever I like started with.
Mhm.
And then that would allow like the ability improvements or other random bonuses to still show up, and it would allow, I'm assuming it would allow D&D Beyond to go ahead and calculate it. And so when I asked it to level up or I got
Yeah.
other things.
Yeah, that sounds right. Let's do that. And if it needs to be changed to work better, we'll do that later. Yeah, but that sounds right
Okay.
to me.
Cool.
Does everybody, you guys ready for the numbers?
Yes.
We've got a 7, a 10, a 14, a 15, a 17, and an 18.
This is amazing.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's very fun. It's gonna, yeah,
Awesome.
it's gonna be a good dang time. Yeah, that is such an interesting array. That's a really low number, 7. That's gonna take some. You guys are gonna take some penalties on whatever you put that in. Now remember, with your racial stuff, that can, or not the way we're reimagining the racial stuff, your trait bonuses. Sorry, not trait bonuses. What the hell is this called? Your
Ability score increases.
ability score increases. You might be able to use some of that to your advantage in some of these numbers, so keep that in mind. Wordman, you've done too many symbols. Did you put all the numbers in one message? That'll, for some reason, my chat doesn't like that. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we can do this now, or we can, why don't you guys play with your character sheets while I talk more at you? Does that sound okay? Yeah, okay. So while you guys are poking at your character sheets, I will turn my attention back to the stream for a second. So stream. Another thing that I think is very important when you're setting up a campaign is getting consent from your players. There's a couple of different pieces to this. For this campaign, an important piece was that I would be streaming this to the internet. Some people aren't comfortable streaming to the internet. I've only run, I think, 3 or 4 Dungeons and Doggies through Twitch, but I've run several not through Twitch because I've had players that aren't comfortable being live on the internet. I run, this will be my 3rd campaign. Only 2 of my campaigns are being streamed right now because I have players in one of the campaigns that would just rather not be on the internet. That is a completely fair way to play. You don't have to stream through the internet. If we wanted to just use Discord to share the maps, we can. And in fact, the players are actually looking at this overlay, which will normally have a map where you see the Chrome window. They'll be looking at that through Discord. It doesn't have to go online at all, like stream through Twitch at all. So I think that's an important piece to get from your players is like how and where you're going to be using this material. One of our players is having some audio problems, so they will be back in a minute. And my channel is set to a weird thing. Let me see if I can update that real quick. What time is it? Actually, yeah, I think it's a good time for a break. How do y'all feel about that?
Sounds good.
Great. So 5-10 minutes. What works for you?
Flexible?
Okay.
Either one.
Let's shoot for 10. See you guys back in 10 minutes. I'm going to stay in the stream and answer any questions anyone might have. I might run away in a second. If my husband is watching this, I would love a drink. Let's see here. I don't know how to change this when it's live. Let's find out together. Does stream have any questions? Oh, I haven't told you what kind. Well, we were going to split a Krabby's. Do you want to split a Krabby's with me, my love? Oh, and actually, if you are paying attention, Luth, can you change my Twitch channel to D&D instead of Minecraft? Because I don't know how to do it. I would really appreciate that. Thanks. You're the best. I'm actually going to take a quick bio break, so I'm going to mute all the microphones and hide my camera for a second. But I will be right back in just a lickety split. I will be right back. Be right back. I'm back. I have my players' mic muted in case they have questions for me, and I will tell you I'm answering them and mute my mic, but I want to make sure they've got a safe space to ask any questions off the internet if they need that space. Oh, you can't see me. That's terribly important. Hi. And I will unhide Chrome. So yeah, any questions anybody might have that I might be able to answer are more than welcome during stream. I think the other day we talked about candy during the break, which is fun. My lovely husband is helping me. He gave me some delicious Krabbies. Is this the raspberry one, babe?
No, we don't have any raspberry ones.
Oh, it's just regular Krabbies? Yes.
Sure. No, go.
Delicious. Yeah, any questions about starting up a new campaign or playing in one, or what the heck a session 0 is, or why you would ever do a session 0, or dice? I could talk about dice forever. Actually, this is my this is one of my dice holders, and it's from Elderwood Academy, and it has my name on it. Is that upside down? No, it has my name on it, which is awesome. And you're supposed to put like a set in here, I think, but instead I put all of my favorite D20s. Ooh, shiny. Art by Rhoda says, it's cool being able to see the beginning of a campaign. I got into D&D listening to Critical Role, and I've been DMing Lost Mines of Phandelver. Yeah, with some people from my old job. Definitely has been a learning experience. Yeah, it has been. The thing that I really had to learn was that I am not Matt Mercer, and that is okay. And my players don't mind that I'm not Matt Mercer. One of the sweetest compliments I've ever had from one of my players happened the other day. They actually told me that they thought that I did something better than Matt Mercer, and I will leave what it was to myself so that you guys don't look for it. But I was speechless, and I can't believe it was just such a sweet thing to say. And it's funny that he's like a standard. I do like the Phandelver, I can never pronounce it. I do like that one a lot. I got into D&D listening to The Adventure Zone. And they start with that one, and then he makes his whole homebrew campaign, which I really loved seeing because he kind of wove it together in an interesting way. And they're just goofballs, and I really liked that. Art by Rhoda says, heck yeah, I have a hard time working off I have a hard time working off of the adventure because it's hard to keep track of character places, events that didn't come up with. Yes, I have the exact same problem, which is why I mostly do homebrew. When I do adventure modules, I have to write my own script for them because, and it's sometimes it's hard for me to visualize. It feels like somebody's like notes have been thrown into an adventure, and I know they do it so you can imagine your own world, but it's often not enough for me to sink my mental teeth into to get the visuals out of. And so I either have to change something so that it makes sense to me, or I change the backstory so it makes sense to me, or something. Art, TechSoup says same, and Art by Rhoda says, yeah, it feels kind of wooden and scripted, and I don't feel loose, relaxed with it, and the players feel like it gets rules/railroady. Yeah, that's often a problem, too, is like the players end up being like, well, what does the module expect me to do? And if they do anything that the module hasn't prepared you for, then you're kind of like, well, how does this work? Because often in modules, somebody has interpreted the rules in a certain way. And so it's either a reimagining of the rules, or it's I don't know how to describe it. It's just, I don't know. It's just a different way of like looking at the rules. And so if the player does something different, you're not really sure how the rules would apply to that situation, because you can't write down in a module every single permutation that a player might do. Yeah, especially with Sarah, I'm terrified because we are running through an adventure and she knows it, and I'm pretty sure she knows it very well, and I'm absolutely terrified of what she's going to do. But we're going to do it together.
Edits.
Sorry, say that again, Sarah. I just unmuted you.
I read final edits on that one before it was published.
Yeah.
I work for those in the team. I work for Take This. I'm a clinical contributor. I've done content management, and now I'm becoming more public facing and doing like trainings for the industry side. So while my title is shifting, you'll see me more like doing panels and stuff. So I mean, D&D Beyond worked with our clinical director, Dr. B, and since I've been on content for over a year, he asked me to help him read through it, and so I'm very intimately aware of Gardens of Fog. But I have never played it, and it has been a long time since I've read it because I read it so closely when it was in the editing process. So don't worry, I will probably, like, you know me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not too worried about you knowing like what's gonna happen next. I'm more worried about what your character will do, and then I'll have to figure out what to do because it won't be in the module. Is all I'm worried about. I'll mute the Discord audio again in case anybody does still have questions. I want to try and unmute after I've made sure that you guys are ready for it, so I'll mute again. TechSoup says, choose your own adventure is rough in a scripted campaign. True. Art by Rhoda says, I want to do a homebrew after we get through Fandalvir, whatever it is. And TechSoup says, homebrew is a good time. Yeah, homebrew is a good time. You can do homebrew. Homebrew seems really intimidating, right? But you can do it. There's just so many ways you can do it. You can have a neat idea and build off of that. You can use something else. Like I wrote a whole thingy the other day, I guess you could call it a module, based off of a book I read that I really liked the idea of, and I wove that into the campaign. TechSoup does a lot of horror type stuff, and I don't know where he gets his ideas, but it is fun. But you can also rely on a module. I'm running my other streamed campaign, Treasure Tuesdays, through the Acquisitions Incorporated adventure, but heck am I changing it a bunch. And you can do that, right? Like, it's a published adventure, but there's nothing saying you have to run through it exactly. That would drive me straight up a wall. Not Luthera says, especially if your DM is good at tension horror. You made Dream into a module too. Oh, I did make a Dream into a module too. That's right, I forgot. Luth is in my campaigns as well. Not Luthera is my husband. He's my other mod, by the way. Luth says, I don't know what's in it. You just know you did. Wait, which dream was that? We can talk later. Sometimes my dreams turn into book. Oh, I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, that was an interesting idea. Oh, So-So, you're back. Hello, So-So. I'm glad you're having fun, that you're here. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to mute my mic really quickly, but you'll see me talking in the video. I'm checking in with my players to see if they're ready to come back yet, so give me 1 second. Hi, Stream. And yes, not Luther. I realized that my captions were still on, which is why I wasn't repeating my players' questions, and I was answering them in an interesting way. Because in the moment, I couldn't figure out how to mute my microphone, but have them still hear me. So I'll figure that out another time. Anyway, yeah, so let's jump right back into it. Stream, if you have any questions, let us know. Players, I already know one of you has a question. Ready to toss that right out there.
So I have picked a wood elf and a ranger. And so now I'm trying to go through the proficiencies. Does that, I asked in the lovely Discord chat to TechSoup, and I think I know the answer, but just to double check.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the proficiencies, those are not what I do there, correct?
Those are not what you do there.
For the racial ability score changes.
Would you guys mind if I pull TechSoup into the voice channel and he'll answer some of these on stream? Is that okay?
Sure.
Great. TechSoup, hop on in here. Because I think you do know the answer to that, and I can't quite imagine a good way to spit that out.
Shiny. So as when this homebrew is working out the way I've done it as part of D&D Beyond character sheets, you still pick all of your proficiencies and class abilities as normal. It's when you get to the attributes screen on D&D Beyond that you start making tweaks, and we can go over that as you get there. Essentially, you are nullifying the racial feats that it automatically assigns to you and applying class and background stats that will come up as you're choosing your class.
Yep. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Great. Cool. Does anybody else have any questions? You were poking away at your character sheets while we were on break, or just in general?
We're still keeping all of the traits that race will give us, just nullifying the ability score increases.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, that is correct. It's just the ability score increases. It just is weird. Like, why would it? I don't know. I'm not going to get into that right now.
Understood.
Sorry. It's just weird, Tyler. It's just weird. Hey, you've all told me what your character names are. Are you set on those enough that I can update them in the stream? Or, I'll change that next time. Never mind. Don't worry about it. I'm really excited to see your character sheets. I can't see anybody's except for Winnie's right now because you're editing them, but I'm just so excited to look at them. And I even have character art already. I wanted to ask you, Hannah, you did send me a picture of your character. May I please use that in the stream? I'll replace the adorable palm with your character image, if that's okay.
Yes, that's totally fine.
I do have to ask if you have the rights to that photo. Sorry, or that picture.
I probably don't,
Okay.
because I Googled it. But
Okay.
I can certainly look into getting them.
Yes,
And,
if you wouldn't mind making sure that that wasn't stolen off of somebody's, like, Etsy or DeviantArt page, I would super appreciate that. I try not to steal people's art as much as I
I
can.
will look into that.
I didn't realize until the other day when I was Googling Furbolg for someone that Wordman took the very first image that comes up when you Google Furbolg as his character image. And it's so perfect for the character he's playing, but it literally is the first picture that pops up when you Google Furbolg. So...
Knowing what I know,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm looking at my race's natural explorer ability, I can choose a favored terrain. Should I make it a terrain that I know doesn't exist, since I know a little bit about the campaign? Yeah.
Interesting.
But I didn't want to make that decision and be like OP.
So, I don't think I've said this yet. Give me 1 second. So I don't think I've said this yet. Stream, we will be running Gardens of Fog. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it is a good time to be running, or to call out Take This org. They are I'm gonna let Sarah explain it. But they wrote this module. They worked with D&D Beyond. It's gonna be a very interesting module to run, and it highlights some things about mental health that I think are important in a positive way. So definitely check it out. You can find it on D&D Beyond, I believe. You definitely find it in DM's Guild. Sarah, can you go ahead and just I'm sorry, quick soundbite on Take This, or you can not, because you're not working right now.
Take This, we're that's okay. The elevator speech is like in my sleep. So Take This is an organization, we're a nonprofit that strives to educate about mental health and mental illness, and then also advocate for more inclusive and supportive mental health presence in the gaming community and the gaming industry. Our roots are in the gaming industry when a dear friend of the founders took his own life, a gaming journalist did, and they recognized that like there's support that's needed that isn't being communicated, and so it's trying to help bolster the health and the understanding of mental illness and mental health in the community. So
Great.
Trying to help people know that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, I tell people that Take This is therapists, provides therapeutic resources for nerds. So
Full is the AFK room. If you go to conventions in the early times before COVID hit, you would find the least stimulating space in the convention on purpose by design, staffed by licensed clinicians for all open hours.
I think Dr.
Where
B
you sit
described it as
silence and-
the most boring space in the
Yes.
convention
Yes.
hall on purpose. Yeah.
Yes, and
Really
the
good.
most exciting thing you can do is color or whisper in hushed voices with a licensed therapist.
Yeah, it's quite good. Okay, so yes. So back to Sarah's question. I will say this. Fantastical as it may be, it's still technically a terrain. So the terrain, I think, can be applied to fantastical. Like, if you guys, in a lot of times in my campaigns, you portal hop like you would not believe, and you dimension hop a bunch. And the terrain, I think, is a loose interpretation of terrain, if that makes sense. So go ahead and pick a terrain that's there, and we'll make it work in the world, if that makes sense.
Rangers are kind
To
of a
you
unique
and-
situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to you and to the players and with public audience, I promise not to try and flex OP. How
Yeah,
about that?
I think the
would be
game is
helpful.
built where like you should have your abilities. Like you should be able to utilize your terrain features.
Yes, you will be able to utilize your terrain features. Yeah.
When you're picking your character, when you're building, you probably wouldn't necessarily know what terrains the DM is going to throw at you.
Right.
So that's why discussions
Well-
with your DM is so important.
Right.
So like Shauna could tweak the story to give you your terrain abilities, because why would you pick them if you didn't want to use them?
Right, and like what might end up happening is if anybody does have like special ties to terrain, like I haven't picked where on the map you guys are gonna pop in yet. So the way that I did it for the other two campaigns when the second one popped up is I just put them on the second continent because there's two big continents. I haven't decided where to enter you guys into the world yet, or if it's important. But if it's like, well, I am super tied to the ocean, then I'll try and figure out how to work that in. TechSoup says Rangers are super easy to tweak with homebrew stuff. Yeah, I think who's playing Messed with Ranger? Is anybody playing a Messed with Ranger in one of my campaigns? There's a screwy druid and a screwy. Is Quentin a ranger? Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, they're really easy to mess with. So, and again, here's another thing that I like to set an expectation for in my session 0. We're gonna build these characters and we're gonna start playing with them. And if at any point you or I are like, oh, that's not working, we will have a conversation about how to make it work and why it might not be working. Maybe it's too OP. Maybe you never use it and you want to change it. I give everybody a free retcon on anything on their character at any point in the campaign. I really try to story that retcon, but I really think that saves some on anxiety when you're building these characters. Yeah, and it past that one retcon, if you're like, man, this just really isn't working, we'll have a conversation where it's like, okay, do you want to kill this character off? Do you want them to open a tavern? Do Do you want to start a whole new character? Do you want them to get on the hit on the head and forget some stuff? Do you want them to drink a magic potion and forget some stuff? Because I've sprinkled those through Zinlia like nuts. Like, what do you want to do? And it becomes an interesting part of the story as opposed to this huge anxiety-ridden, like, oh my god. So don't worry too much when you're tossing stuff in there. Great. Cool. Other questions like that? Now might be a good time to talk about other consent type pieces. So I did talk to them about, I did talk to this party about streaming and recording and putting up on YouTube. I talked to them a lot about the story stuff. Some of the ways that can express itself. Again, because I like to really visualize things, is let's say Hannah's character hits another character over the head with a mace. And Hannah might say, yeah, so Winnie uses the mace and slams it down on the person. I'd be like, cool, I imagine it looks like this. And Hannah, you absolutely have the ability to be like, no, that's not what it looks like this. Or you can be like, yeah, that sounds good. Or like, oh, well, could it be a little bit more like this? Or you can be like, I don't think it looks like that, but I don't know what it looks like. And I can be like, do you want me to keep giving options, or we can just move on? This is your game too. I don't want to try and speak for your character. I will sometimes make mistakes and speak for your character. Please correct me if it's not right. If I'm doing it too much, tell me. If you don't want me to describe anything ever, tell me. If you just want to read off the stats on your sheet and play your character that way, and you don't want me trying to describe on top of it, do that. This game is for you to play. If that's how you want to do it, you just want to read the character sheet, that's completely fine. If that's fun for you, we'll make that work. It will work. If you want to tell really elaborate descriptions that take a half an hour, I might have to have a conversation about how we don't have the time for that. But if elaborate descriptions are something you want to do it. Please don't take liberties with the other characters. Quentin and Druge are two characters in another campaign who are both in the chat, so I'm going to talk about them in front of them. Quentin doesn't try and make decisions for Druge. The player doesn't say, so Druge does this when I say this. That is not what happens. So try and be respectful of everybody's players. I'm going to try and do the same, and please be respectful of the world I've built as well. If I say something happens that's world-based, like, okay, you've stepped through a portal and now you're here. Please don't try to say, no, I don't. Like, I'm trying to tell a story, and I am not the kind of GM that's going to be like, oh, you stepped through a portal and now you're dead. Like, that is not something I'm going to do and mean it. I might do that and be like, and now you're a spirit in the ghost world, and this is a fun story, and you'll get your body back in a minute. So trust me when I do world stuff, the same way I'm going to try and trust you guys, okay? And I know we'll have to build that over time, but those are kind of my expectations there. Questions, concerns, thoughts?
Sounds good.
Cool. Sounds good.
Cool. Tech Soup in chat is referring to the time where I dealt 93 damage, not 112, to the party, and they all panicked because it murdered all of them. But I watched them all start to panic because we were all at a table together, and then I watched them all go, well, wait, she's told us she's not here to kill us, even though this really feels like it, what's going to happen next? And so they gave me a minute to be like, and your eyes open, and you're right back in the room you started in. And that was to give them some information about the puzzle they were in. So I'm not going to do that to you. At least for a while. I'd built some trust with them. But yeah, it's... If you got that trust and you know that your GM isn't out to get you, then it can create some very interesting storylines. I had another character one time get his soul sucked out of him, and he was like, what? And I was like, hold, wait. Now, this can be permanent if you'd like. If you'd like your character to die and be avenged, we can do that. We can turn this into an elaborate chase where you have to be recovered, and you can try on a new character during that time. Or I can get you your body back in the next session. Like, what works for you? And like, I gave them options, and they were able to participate in those options, and we told a really cool story. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. Tech Soup. Not Luthera said it was awesome. Yes, it was awesome. It was great. That was a really fun module. I liked that one. I might have to whip them out again. Okay, so the last piece of consent I want to talk to you guys about, if you don't have any questions or thoughts on those. And chat, if you have any questions, jump in. Ignore TechSoup and Not Luthera. Okay, the last piece of consent I like to talk to people about is what I call a yes-no list. I think it's really important that you do some version of this in a session 0 because it will avoid the early ending of campaigns. Having a set schedule, even if it's an agreed, we'll do this randomly, but like having an agreement on a cadence and having an agreed story that you're trying to tell and having an agreed yes-no list is my secret 3 things for having a campaign last longer than a day. All right. So the way a yes-no list works for my campaigns is I ask each player to give to me things that they want to see in the campaign, which is their yes list, and things they do not want to see in the campaign, which is their no list. And I give them examples. The examples that I gave this group were written down. My examples were, yes, I want to see in the game queens as rulers instead of kings, role-playing, puzzles. Examples I gave for no was a combat-heavy campaign, politics, or religion. Now, those were examples. Each character submits these to me directly. I anonymize them as much as I can, and then I give them back to the group as an agreement moving forward. That list can change, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I think it's pretty important to start there. So some no's from me right out of the gate. I do not deal with sexual trauma in my games. I do not deal with suicidal ideology in my games. And I do not deal with race in my games. And that is because this is a fantasy environment that I have created. And that means I have a lot of control over it. But it does not give me the right to make assumptions about certain communities, whether I have lived that experience or not. And for those of you that can't see me, I am a skinny white chick, so I definitely cannot speak for the Black community, nor do I try to. If you have questions about it, I have several creators who are able to talk about it in engaging ways that I can point you to. But I'm not going to do it. TechSoup says it's cool, I got you. Yes. Yes, so yeses in my campaigns. I do have, my service dog is alerting to me. So even talking about the things I don't want to put in my campaign makes my heart rate go up. Thank you, Tara. She's alerting to me right now. She's super cute, guys. Sorry, I should get a webcam just for her. Good girl. Yeah, thank you. So yeses in my campaigns. I do represent the disabled community in my campaign. I think of it as an awareness and a just a visibility thing. I have, I believe one of, if I can speak for my parties, one of the favorite NPCs is, she doesn't speak. She's a blacksmith, and she is very clear with her body language about what she intends, and as far as I'm aware, that's their favorite NPC. I've also got one in a wheelchair. I've also got some invisible disabilities sprinkled in that helps me make character choices. And they're invisible disabilities that I have experience with, or that I can imagine in a, not a take advantage-y kind of way. But I am as respectful as I can with these communities. And if I make mistakes, I expect people to tell me so that I can learn something from that experience and I can make changes, as long as you're nice about it, please. TechSoup says, she is so good and I am super jealous of your NPCs. Thank you, TechSoup. I like them as well. I'm glad you're enjoying them. Tara, I'm okay. Please go lay down. So those are examples of yes-nos. I have not yet collected all of the yes-nos from this group and anonymized them yet. So we'll review those at the beginning of the next session and agree on them. Oh, another yes of mine is I include the queer community as well, because I'm bisexual and I think men should marry men and women should marry women, and gender is fluid and weird and shouldn't be defined by words and stuff like that. So that appears in my campaign often as well. Some of my favorite NPCs are these very nice married dude humans. One of them runs the tavern and the other one plays chess a bunch. And that's about all I know about them. So one of the humans runs, his name is Bill, and he runs Bill's Sleeps and Eats, which is a tavern I created. So, or an inn I created. So yeah. Questions or concerns about that, players or stream? Or thoughts or improvements I can make?
I think that all makes sense.
Yeah, cool. Tara Golito. That's good for Sarah. Good. I heard a brief audio thing, but not the words, but I see it in web caption, so that's good. Tyler, Hannah, thoughts?
Totally happy about all of this. It's so good, needs no prompting, no questions.
Great. Okay.
Super into all of it.
Awesome. Let's see here. Another thing that I would like to tell the stream, just for the record, I have a 0 troll policy, and I have mods in place to assist in that eventuality. If you would like to be rude on this stream or be mean to any of my players or any of the decisions we make as a group, I will tell you nicely once to stop, and if you don't, I will immediately remove you. Period. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200, and my stream won't allow that message to be displayed either. So don't try it. Please don't push my buttons. I have a very short leash for that. Or yeah, whatever phrase you want to use. I'm here to have fun, and trolls are not fun, so please don't. Let's see. Oh, I've got Lost Thorin. It sounds like this world is one we all wish were real. Well, I don't know about you, but I super wish magic were real. So yeah, that would be super neat. I would really love to be able to snap my fingers and have lights appear wherever I want them. Or have dogs speak. Oh, that's another thing I should mention. All of you have played in one of my Dungeons and Doggies campaigns, but I should mention that I actually use awakened animals in my campaigns. I don't know that it'll pop up in this module, but you guys okay with that? There are awakened cats and awakened dogs. So they're shaped and act like dogs and cats, but they can talk and have humanoid type intelligence. You guys okay with that?
Sure.
Yes.
Great.
Definitely. Living my dream.
That is definitely a world in which I could live. If my dog could talk to me. Yeah, Lost Thorin. I'm referring to a D&D Beyond. I forget how to refer to this. TechSoup, fill in if I can't remember. Some sort of modular. It's a new rule set called Dungeons and Doggies. You can look it up in D&D Beyond, or you can go if you Google Animal Adventures. That's the group that makes it. They've got 2 rule sets for dogs and cats. I had the hiccups. I'm sorry. And they've got 3 adventures that you can run through. One of them is Quarantine. They released for the Quarantine, and that's the one shot I keep referring to when I say Dungeons and Doggies. Okay, so I have covered most of what I wanted to go over as part of the session 0. It sounds like we're all on the same page about stuff. And I have some ideas for how to build stuff around for you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can look at your player sheets really quickly, and they're gonna be up on the stream. You guys can see them. So I'm looking at Battle Armor. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. So we've got a Wood Elf Ranger. I've asked them all to make sure their characters are level 3 because the Gardens of the Fog is built for characters 3 to 5. So we've got a Wood Elf Ranger. Which pronouns does Battle use? What was that? I heard cheers.
She, her is fine.
Great. So she is, let's see here. What fun rangery stuff do we have? Hordebreaker. Oh, that's pretty interesting. You can make an attack. When you make a weapon attack, you can make another attack with the same weapon against a different creature that's within 5 feet of the original target. That's pretty cool. What else do we have here? You've got spells because you're a ranger. You haven't picked any yet. That's fine. you want to
Figuring out equipment as we go.
figuring out equipment as we go. That's great. So let's see. What would good equipment for a ranger to be? You should all make sure you have some kind of armor. When you build the character, it gives you some equipment options when you pick classes and stuff. Feel free to pick from those, but if at any point you're like, no, I hate it, let me know. I built a fighter and they give you a long sword and a bow, and I was like, but I want to use daggers. And my GM was like, okay. And I was like, I want to have a line of daggers down both thighs. Or like both thighs on the outside. That's where I want to draw them from. And my GM was like, okay. And so, talk to me. See features and traits. We got anything in here yet? D&D Beyond. Be nice to me. Favorite enemy? Undead. Nice. You're a natural explorer. Swamp. Good. You've got +2 bonus to archery, so definitely pick up a bow. You're a hunter archetype. That's good. Do you hunt the undead? Do we have a backstory yet? I can see some themes here coming out. Primeval.
We could.
Yeah, primeval awareness. That's interesting. Dark vision, keen senses, fey ancestry. Well, yeah, you're a wood elf. That's cool. Trance. Yes, elves. Elf nonsense is what I call it. And you're sneaky as all hell. That looks good. That's coming along quite well. You have any questions while I'm in your sheet?
So I updated my equipment. Any spells that I should be doing?
So when I am building a
That you
character,
Yes.
I really like using the spells to shape some of my personality. My husband actually once, for a game where we had to build character sheets for each other, built a sorcerer of some kind, and all of the spells were based on things I say regularly. So that's kind of my thoughts behind it. So we're looking at your spell list right here. And I mean, there's a bunch of good ones. Hail of Thorns does a good bit of damage.
Familiar with that one.
You are familiar with that one. I think you've used that one before.
It's strange the ones that I see on my list look different than the ones that you see on your list.
Why?
I don't know.
Huh. I might have to look at that with you offline. Did you...
Shouldn't I have more?
Yeah, do I have more than you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so go all the way back to the beginning of your character creator. Here, actually, I'm going to do this. So you're going to go into edit character. All of you should do this, for the record. Go to home, and under sources, make sure homebrew content is turned on, critical role content is turned on, Magic the Gathering content is turned on, and Eberron content is turned on. And tech, do we use playtest content too? Sure do. Okay, yeah, so make sure playtest content is also turned on. I don't turn on Rick and Morty, but turn everything else on. And that should get you. But if it wasn't turned on here, then why was I seeing it?
You might have resources purchased or like available to you that she doesn't.
Oh, have I not
And if
shared my
content isn't
resources with
shared-
this campaign? Let me, I'm gonna hide this for a second. Thank you, Tyler, that was a good point. I gotta check the campaign and make sure I've shared the right resources with you guys. Hey, Tech, can you jump into the voice and tell me how to do that again? View campaign. Enable content sharing. There's a button! I'm pushing it. It's gonna take a minute to load. There! I've enabled content sharing.
Yep. There's a limit to how many campaigns you can do that with, so I don't know how often you can do this from here on out, but
I
yes,
only
for
have
time
3.
being, that should be it.
I only have 3. I should probably do it with my Dungeons and Doggies campaign too, though.
In a pinch, I think someone else in the campaign can share resources, not just the person who runs it. Does that seem right, Zach?
It does,
Yeah.
and I have many, many resources.
Yes, you have a lot. We should probably sit down at some point and figure out if you've shared them with me, if that means when I share content, it gets shared further, or if I'm just sharing my content along, because I'll have to pick up some modules if the latter is true.
I believe it depends on if I'm attached to the campaign or not, which is why
Right.
I created a test character in there. But anyway, carry on.
Aw, thanks. We'll find out. Okay, cool. So, Sarah, did that fix it? Do your spells list match what I'm seeing here?
Yes, it did.
Yay! We successfully solved a problem. It wasn't really a problem. We figured out a thing. Yay us. Working together. We can do anything. Okay, yeah, so you asked what spells. Cure Wounds is always useful. If you really want to build bonds with animals, any of the animal stuff would be helpful. It would be good probably to think about whether you want to build a ranger that's ranged, like a ranged combat character, whether you want to be able to control environments or just do damage. That'll help you pick your spells. Like Fog Cloud will help you control the environment. It'll create a mask on the environment. What's the word I'm looking for there? Area of effect, like containment type things.
Crowd control stuff.
Crowd control. That's what I'm looking for. And that can be a very effective way of assisting the party. It does take some collaboration, but that's what we're here to do. So yeah, go ahead and think about that, okay? Let's see here. I'm going to look at Freya Boltwater next. Is that all right? That's
Yes.
Elizabeth's, yes. All right, we've got a female human cleric. Cool. You picked Turn Undead for your channel divinity. That's great. Spiritual weapon. You get to describe whatever that looks like, so go ahead and start thinking about that.
Okay.
Wrath of the Storm. Oh, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be very interesting.
Yes.
I
It's
have
so much fun.
I have
I am so excited about this character.
I have some thoughts about this. This is going to be very interesting.
They're going to be
Good
really
thoughts.
loud.
Yeah, that's fair. That actually, I'm gonna change thoughts for a second. As far as stream etiquette goes, if you've got lots of stuff going on in the background, like dogs barking or anything, please mute your stream. My dogs do bark. I mute my mic and I say, "Stop it, dogs," and then I unmute it. Please don't chew into the microphone. That makes my skin crawl. And if you're gonna yell, can you not really yell? Like, please don't scream into the microphone because it really hurts my ears. If
Oh
you,
yeah, I won't be like actually loud. I'll just talk about how loud I am.
Yeah, that's great. That'll be very good. Looking at your spells, you've got Light, Sacred Flame, Thaumaturgy. Those are all good. Yep, you've got... Yeah, you picked up Cure Wounds. That's good. Thunderwave. Great. Yeah, this is good. I think you guys can see each other's character sheets as well. So
Yes.
it might be good to, we don't want to metagame this too much, but, and I have absolutely I have a campaign where I've got two characters that are built very similarly and we make that work. But I'm noticing a lot of the same spells in this list that the Ranger has, but it could be very interesting to see you guys cast the same spells in concert and see what that does. Just something to
Okay.
think about. You have not picked out your equipment yet. You should do that.
Working on it right now.
Cool. Let's see here. Tempest Domain. Neat. I'm going to have to read up on that. If TechSoup is excited about it, that means I should read about it because I'm sure there's something interesting there. Wrath of the Storm Travelers. Destructive Wrath? Dang. Very cool. And you speak Goblin. All right.
Yes, I have thoughts and reasons.
I would I'd love to hear more about that. That'll be a fun conversation. Winnie, I would like to look at Hannah, I'd like to look at Winnie next. Is that okay?
Yes, definitely.
Great. TechSoup says Tempest is my favorite cleric. Oh, Light Cleric is also one of his favorites. Not Luthera says Storm Girl incoming. TechSoup said Thunderbolts and lightning are very, very frightening. You guys are silly. It's been interesting seeing where you all have put the 7. So Winnie is not very charismatic, huh? Do you know how that's going to manifest yet?
Yes, so being that she lived most of her life in a very sheltered commune, for lack of a better word, she's not real great with people, but she has become very good at smashing things.
Great.
And so, yeah, she can try and be intimidating, but she doesn't really know what intimidating looks like or sounds like or what normal interpersonal interaction should be like.
Okay. I would like to mention, I've seen, I don't think that you would do this, but I do want to call this out really quickly. I've seen players build characters like this and then I don't know how to say this. Well, just for lack of a better way to say it, basically make the character autistic. And I know that you are not going to do this, but I am particularly sensitive to that kind of thing, being autistic. But I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with Winnie for some of these. Like, being a barbarian, like, intimidation is going to be like a thing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that doesn't work for her.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, I presumed both Freya and Winnie's pronouns. Can I ask really quickly, is Freya using she, her?
Freya is she, her, yes.
And is Winnie using she, her?
Winnie is she, her.
Great, thank you. Winnie has a giant pack full of stuff. You've got a holy symbol. That's interesting. Why do you have a holy symbol?
Because D&D Beyond added it in, but I think I need to find the reason why that's in there.
All right, that sounds good. Not Luthera said, did you discuss the possibility of using strength for intimidation when appropriate? No, we didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. I think it's referring to one of your characters. We can talk about that offline, though. TechSoup says Winnie and Druge should hang out. Druge is a Loxodon that he made. And has much rage. Ah, yes. And Druge's rage mechanics are very interesting, the way he stories them. Do you know how you're going to story Winnie's rage? You don't have to. I'm just curious.
I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
All right. Well, let's see how that works. That's going to be fun. Reckless attack is always fun. Danger sense is good. Path of the Berserker. Excellent. That fits in with some of what you said about your backstory. When raging, you can choose to frenzy. That's going to be good. The only time I've seen this happen is in one of my doggies campaign, and it was a Chihuahua, and it was awesome. So I can only imagine what that would look like with a Furbolg.
That sounds amazing. A frenzied Chihuahua.
It was so good. Furbolg magic, hidden step. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Because in my head I'm thinking like barbarian is like, huge and lumbery and smash. But hidden step kind of like you can turn invisible. So like I could so now I'm imagining like some poor soldier and then like this huge raging Furbolg just like pops up in front of it and is like, I will kill you, and he's just like, oh fine, I'm done, I give up.
That sounds yes, that is absolutely what is going to happen.
Right? Speech of Beast and Leaf, that'll be good. TechSoup said Druge does it a lot. Do you mean he frenzies a lot, or he rages a lot? I didn't catch when you said that. Your description is Heart of Darkness. Oh, that's so sad. That'll be interesting, though. I just want to jump back through the player sheets that I can see and see where else people put 7s. Oh, Druge uses strength-based intimidation. Yeah, so clearly I use it somewhere in my campaign, so we can talk about when it would be appropriate to use that for yours. Okay, Freya put charisma at 7 as well.
Yes.
Do you know why yet?
Yeah, she honesty is really valued for her, and she's not great at like the tact piece, and she's also very easily frustrated, which I'm pulling from like my own self and then just making them a little bit bigger.
Okay. Yeah, that's a completely legitimate thing to do, and I feel bad. I think you've sparked a bunch of my thoughts, my tangential thoughts. So I'm not picking on you. It's just happening.
It's okay.
You're just your brain and my brain just. So that reminds me. Oftentimes with D&D players want to play through some concepts, which I'm really comfortable with them trying on personas and things. I ask that you stay respectful. Like there are certain accents that I prefer you not to try and pull off. I think you know the ones that I mean, and if you don't, we can talk about it later. I also do not support my players trying on disabilities. It's just not an experience that I can support properly, and I don't know how else to explain that. It's not an experience I've lived, then I can't comment on it, and then I think it's really hard to do that in a respectful, fun way, so I ask that my players not do that. If you have a disability that you'd like to include with your character, that you'd like to try out some concepts on, I'm comfortable doing that. We'll talk about whether or not the disability needs to be something that's called out, because you don't necessarily have to call out your disability every time you're talking about your own personality or your character's personality, but those will end up being offline conversations. If it's a physical disability, I lean away from those as much as I can, unless there's a deliberate story reason for it and it's handled in a very respectful way. It did come up during the character creation for this, and I will talk about it in a minute after I get consent from my player. If I can get consent from my player, it's not required. Any questions about that? Cool. Battle, I noticed you put your 7 in Constitution. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Figured as a wood elf, she probably knows what and what not to eat from the nature, so she's probably pretty aware of all of that. And so then if she's also a ranger, she's better with distanced combat, so of the weaknesses, that one makes sense.
That's fair. That makes a lot of sense. Since 2 of our characters so far can't really talk to anybody, it's good that you've got a plus in charisma. Now, Tyler, I'm not seeing your character sheet here in the campaign. I imagine we'll have a conversation about how to get that in.
I do not have one created yet. To not belabor the accessibility conversation, either if you're comfortable like creating it and I can grab it later, or I can just worry about developing that.
I am very comfortable doing that. Would you mind if we did that offline, or would you like me to jump through that really quickly here?
The short version is I can't pick the race and class, but I can pretty much develop anything else in the character sheet editor.
Okay.
But those 2 things block me out.
Can you join the campaign?
Sure can.
And if you can join a campaign with an empty character, then I can pull that up and try and get you started. Because we've got another about half hour to go. But yeah, whatever you're comfortable with. Great. But would you mind telling us a little bit about your character? Are you going with the warlock with the bees?
I will be going with Yume Euthalia, the warlock. Don't know how we're gonna figure it out because it's not gonna be a conventional warlock patron situation, from what I understand. But
okay.
I'm asking Shauna to be extra creative by giving me a unique patron, which is maybe a queen bee of sorts. I'm leaving it in her hands because it's her own homebrew world.
That's right. We did talk about this the other day.
And I hope to have a familiar that is a bee of large size, and because I'm using a warlock, Pact of the Chain, it provides you some extra choices for your familiar, which is like sprite, pseudo dragon, things like that. So I'm particularly fond of the sprite stat block, and if we could use that and just say that it's a big old bee, I think that would be really nice.
That's a really cool idea.
That
I'm
is
excited
that
for
is
your
a
character.
very cool idea. So yeah, this is going to be neat. So Tyler mentioned this to me the other day, and the way they positioned it was, "Do you know a lot about familiars?" And I said, "No, I have one with one of my characters, but I'm not very good at it. And my husband keeps using it, but I'm not very good at it." Tyler does know a lot about familiars, and so this is a scenario where if Tyler, if you're okay with me asking you a bunch of questions about how that works when we get into combat situations and other situations, then yeah, I am all for this. This sounds really cool.
Absolutely.
I also have some thoughts around the queen bee, but this is an example of a part of the conversation I'll probably take offline for Tyler so that there's a bit of mystery for the other players. If you're okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I have some ideas, or like I know that your familiar is going to look like a bee, but I have some questions around like how big is it? Is it the traditional colors? Does it talk? Does it
Right.
use buzzing? Do you have a code? Right. And then as far as the patron goes, because we're going to be that's going to be fairly unique, I think. I have a hand wavy structure to part of my world that I think I can plug that very neatly into, but I'm going to need some choices from you about what that might look like. And I'm going to ask for some areas where you might be comfortable leaving that up to me so that I can weave it into some things. And so that'll be a really fun conversation to have if you're up
Sure.
for having it.
I'm not fixed on any of those things you mentioned. Like, I do have some ideas
Yeah.
for a couple of them, but I'm not like, there's very few things that I would think I want this to be X way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
definitely
and
for discussion about that. And that's the interesting thing about warlocks too. I feel like those sort of conversations do, not always, like every table is different, but they can kind of lead to a little more mystery and side discussions a little more than usual.
yeah, and I love side conversations. I definitely have players that just play their character and that's fine. I have other players that are always talking to me about their character choices and like why something happens or can I do this, and when we level up I want to do this, and you know, that kind of thing. So TechSoup says warlocks are dress up dolls with a ton of role play. Just interesting. So yeah, that could be very cool. I have been thinking about it since you mentioned it the other day, and I actually found a homebrew thing that I might be interesting. So yes, that sounds cool. Do you know where you're gonna put your 7? Which stat array you're gonna put that in?
Ooh, it's a tough choice.
Yeah.
Haven't quite decided between strength or dexterity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not quite sure.
And
Definitely
like,
bumping up charisma and constitution. Intelligence isn't super important to me, but I might want wisdom.
yeah.
Some thinking.
Which stat do you use to cast with? I forget for a warlock. I haven't played my warlock in a
Charisma.
really long time. What was that? Charisma?
Charisma, yes.
Yeah, okay. So that'll be really high, probably. That'll be interesting because usually the charisma ends up being the high charisma ends up being the face often. And I really wonder how that could present with Yume. Oh, and what are Yume's pronouns, if you don't mind sharing?
She, her.
She, her. Okay, I've got a party of ladies. Let's do this. This is fun. I've only got one lady in all of my other campaigns, so like lady character in all of my other campaigns. So this will be
Overdue.
yeah. Yep. You're balancing. You guys are low balancing. This is great. Cool. So the way that I'd like to get this started is to actually assume you guys know each other ahead of time. And so I'd like to talk about some ways you might have met each other or come into contact with each other ahead of time. And so I'm going to ask you if you have any ideas, and if you don't, I'm going to start throwing out stuff that pops into my head. Are we all comfortable with this?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. All right. I heard a yes from everybody, I think. So the reason I want to do this is because this campaign we agreed would be fairly short-lived at the beginning. And I think I explained that earlier, is we want to see if we work well together, and some of us might have conflicting time commitments, but we'll try and at least get through this module, which I think I can do in 4 or 5 sessions. So to that end, I'm dumping you guys into a module starting at level 3. when you start up a new campaign, you can start at level 1, you can start at level 10. Nobody can control that except you and your party. I do think it's important to start all your characters at the same level. I can talk more about that later. And I do think it's important, or this isn't important, but it's something I like to do. If you start the characters above level 1 or 2, I love to come up with a reason they already know each other. It also helps in a short campaign. You guys all know each other and you're all here for a reason and you're all going to go do this thing. And then you just roll right into it. Now you could start up a session having people, okay, you're all in a tavern and you're sitting here and you're sitting here and you're sitting here and you're sitting here and there's a creepy guy in the corner. What do? You could start it that way. One of my campaigns, I had everybody walk into a coffee shop and they heard somebody do a speech of some kind and they were all interested in it. So they all ended up very awkwardly going on an adventure together. They continue to awkwardly go on adventures. Another party all got hired. They weren't called and hired to search for a thing. Yes, the coffee shop was named The Dark Side of the Spoon. I did not come up with that name. I am very spoon oriented. And in fact, in this world, there are magic spoons all over the place. And I made that up on my birthday because I wanted to give everybody presents in my D&D campaigns because no one could come to my house and be nice to me. So I decided to distribute presents. And in one of my campaigns, I gave out magic items. And in the other campaign, actually, Elizabeth helped me with this. I had the bright idea to make magic spoons. And they're all things that I love or think are neat. And so then I decided that, fine, Zinlia has magic spoons, and they're all over the place. So,
I'm so happy about them.
yes, spoons are my favorite. Google the spoon theory, folks. It's good. Where's I going with this? Oh, right. So you can start a session that way where everybody's sort of like is in a place, and then you can have your players try and find reasons to work together or not. Because we've all agreed we want to do collaborative storytelling, we all know that there's a short time limit, and we all already know that we want to work together. I thought we'd kind of work that out ahead of time. So, anybody have any ideas why you might know another player or character rather?
Are all of us generally adventuring types? Like, do we all go on jobs?
I think Winnie. I think Hannah said that Winnie has a motivation to make sure that what happened to her clan and family never happens to anyone else.
Yeah, Winnie, for lack of a better description, is kind of like, I don't know if you guys have seen The Witcher or read the books, like kind of a vigilante for hire almost when people have problems that are endangering their lives.
I'm sorry, you said what for hire? Vigilante for hire.
Yes.
Yeah. And what did you say after that? For when someone needs...
For when people have any kind of problem that is endangering their lives.
Endangering their lives, yeah. I really like the way you phrase that. A problem. Endangering lives. Okay. Did that answer your question, Elizabeth? Do you have...
It did. But I'm getting stuck. And I would love to hear your ideas.
Okay, let's see. Freya's a Tempest cleric, so...
I think it would be cool if, one of the other characters in the campaign, either Winnie had to step in and save them from something, from certain doom, and that's how they got involved, or vice versa, if Winnie was in a tough spot and trying to solve somebody's problem, or maybe their own, and the other character had to help them out.
That could be very interesting, especially since you both are rather awkward humans, or humanoids. So what if, I'm just throwing this out there, what if, Winnie, you were trying to, let's say, collect at the end of a job, and the person that you're trying to collect from is like, it's not worth the 20 gold I promised you, so I'll give you 5. And you just don't know what to do with that, right? But you said 20, so you give me 20, and the person's like, nope. And maybe Freya's seeing this happen somehow, and tries to help, would that be something
Freya
Freya
would be
do?
super pissed. Yes,
Yeah.
she'd be super pissed.
And like maybe you guys get into like Freya tries to help and it's still going awkwardly and it turns into like a kerfuffle of some kind. Does that sound
That seems like the way it would go.
Hannah?
That sounds totally right.
All I'm gonna write down is kerfuffle.
Unless we were, between the two of us,
Mhm.
able to be successfully intimidating. But
Oh, yeah.
regardless, I think that, like, after that, we would at least speak to each other and then probably figure out that we are obviously friends.
Okay, yeah. What if like Freya cuts into the conversation and the guy's like, "What do you even have to do about this?" And maybe Freya could be like, "Well, I know this, like," and Winnie's like, "Winnie," and Freya's like, "Winnie and I are friends, and like I know you should be treating her better or whatever," and like get like sort of like when you walk up to somebody on the street who's being harassed and you're like, "Oh, hey friend, come with me." But like starting the
That's very much like
confrontation,
that.
and then you guys end up, the two of you end up intimidating the guy into being like, "Fine, here's 20 gold, fine, just leave me alone." And then, he walks away and you guys look at each other, maybe, and maybe Winnie's like, "Well, I guess thanks, because Winnie has her money now." And maybe Freya's like, "Yes, you're welcome." And you both are awkward. And then maybe one of you's like, "I have another job. I could use some help." And then you both awkwardly go off and do the other job.
I'm watching this happen in my head. This seems right.
Yes, I love this
Yep.
idea.
Okay, I'll say successful intimidation. Awkwardness ensues. Great. Well, that's two of you. Now, how can we add Yume or Battle to this? You guys have any
I'm
thoughts?
still quite stumped here, but I can maybe expand a little bit on Yume to maybe get her brains moving, find some hooks. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, please.
So like, I imagine any of this could change, but I imagine her so far as like the daughter of a small town priestess to some sort of deity, probably like a sun or light deity.
Okay.
And her father would be like a farmer, like a beekeeper. That's where she got her affinity to bees and honey and things like that.
Right.
And she is very sweet, kind of naive, but very optimistic. Probably doesn't know, probably gullible.
Yep.
And just really wants to help people. I'll try to find some more sophisticated ways of like what her motivations are, but she's like,
No, I'm on this.
sees the good in people and really wants to help.
So why would she have gone out to the world? What's the motivation there? Is it knowledge based? Does she
Haven't
need
quite
something?
fleshed that out yet, so I was kind of potentially leaning into the patron relationship to
Yeah.
help
What
maybe
if
create some of that.
what if that patron relationship requires you to complete certain tasks on behalf of this patron? And the patron has thus far always asked you to do things that are in the best interest of others. Does that
Sounds to
sound
me.
reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
And because this is a world in which we can do whatever we want, I'll figure out a theme for those, maybe a theme for those tasks so far. But let's say
I'm
that,
also open to the relationship being maybe not always so positive,
Mm-hmm.
for like greater good mentality, or and the deity might be neutral, and the patron might have more some things are good, some things are not so good. But typical warlock patron stuff. You do my bidding, so she only wants to do the good things, but might have to suck it up a little bit to maintain the ability to do more good and heal
Okay.
people and things.
yeah, that'll be really interesting because it can let me introduce some complexity, right? Like, so if I end up having you guys go off on a task that on the surface doesn't look good, then it becomes like, well, is this the kind of thing where it doesn't look good, but we do end up on the right side? Or even better, this looks like we're doing good and it's actually creating even more of a problem for this other person. So that's good to know, because that means I can introduce some uncertainty and complexity into that relationship, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say
think-
that... Yep, go ahead.
All I really had left was potential bonds to stick to might just be like religion related or farming and animal related or sunshine.
Religion, farming, animals. Did you say sunshine?
Sure did.
Sunshine. Okay, let's see. How about there was how about Freya and interrupt me, change things, whatever. How about Freya and Winnie were in a town that was cursed with perpetual thunderstorms. And Yume was sent to that town by their patron to restore balance to the weather there because they were offended that there was a lack of sunshine. And maybe it was destroying a local beehive or something. And so Yume shows up. Ooh, I have an even better idea. What if Freya and Winnie were hired to solve like a problem in an area, and to do it, Freya ends up casting a spell that kind of gets out of control, and she doesn't know why, and that's what causes the perpetual thunderstorm type thing. And Freya and Winnie are still there trying to fix it, and Yume sweeps in and is supposed to be restoring balance, and that's how you guys meet each other.
This seems consistent with the way that Freya's life goes.
Okay. Tyler?
That
Hannah?
sounds good to me.
Hannah?
Sounds absolutely hilarious and totally like Winnie's luck in terms of kind of people being attracted to her due to circumstances beyond her control, and like, not that she doesn't like people, but she's just not used to people being around. So yeah, absolutely.
Can anyone describe what that meeting would look like in that circumstance? You could take a crack at it. You can also tell me, absolutely not, I don't want to do this right now. Whatever works. We can leave it to our imagination. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So Freya was doing something and was trying, so she like found a new spell and she was working on it, and like it seemed like it was all going to go well because it's a new spell, but like the components and the parts that went into the spell seemed like very basic, and she was trying to figure out something around like the weather just seemed a little off, and so she was like, I'm just gonna fix it. It's gonna be great. I learned this new stuff. It's gonna be awesome.
Yep.
And then it didn't work very well at all. And now there's perpetual thunderstorms, and she's a Tempest Domain cleric, but she's like, she likes the rain, but she hates being wet for a long period of time. And so this is just really upsetting on multiple levels. And so you can just like see her basically like pacing around the town, like checking different areas, checking where it's raining and where it's not raining. She keeps like walking out to like the edge of the thunderstorm. And she's doing a lot of talking to herself and really, really hoping, because no one actually asked her to fix anything. She just did it.
Okay.
And so she's really hoping that no one noticed.
Yeah, I'm pretty
which
sure they noticed.
Quickly, it's clear that they did. And I would assume that like that some of the other characters would be like, she's pretty clearly a Tempest Domain cleric. And so I would assume that at some point like Winnie would come over and be like, hey, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, like all the farmers in the region are coming to Winnie and being like, you need to help us. And Winnie's just like, I'm a barbarian. Like,
The farmers are like
there's
very
something for me to
convinced.
I'll smash it, but like I can't do anything about the weather, so I'm just talking to Freya like, what are we
Can the
doing?
farmers be like
It is-
very convinced that there's like an evil wizard somewhere causing this? And it's actually just
Yes,
Freya
that
who
sounds-
just tried to fix things and
sounds
totally
correct.
screwed it up.
So the farmers end up trying to hire Winnie to go destroy the evil wizard that's plaguing their town. And Winnie's like, Freya, what did you do? They just hired me to kill you because you did this,
And I'm
right?
like, I don't know.
That's good. Sorry, Tyler, I think I cut you off, but I saw your mic blip. What were you gonna say?
You might have gotten wrapped up in this on behalf of like her parents, like church or their family farm. Like, instead of being
Yes.
the patron.
Yes. Yes. Hang on. Let me. Evil wizard hire Winnie. Awkward. Great. Yeah. Okay. Tyler. Sorry. Yeah. Tyler. Is that okay? Is it okay if Yume's parents are it's in their region, like their farm is being affected by this,
Yeah.
and so you go try and figure out what's going on. And because of the tie with your patron, there might be some way that you and Freya might be able to resolve that.
I like it.
Okay, yeah. We'll leave this hand wavy, and we will not talk about mechanics right now. That sounds really good. So let me just write that down. Now, Sarah, are you hearing anything in this that makes you want to be like, okay, this is how battle gets involved? Sarah, I saw you say yes in your captions, but I don't know if that was just from now or not. Can you hear us? Are you there?
Sorry, I was muted.
Cool.
I was trying to contemplate how I would end up in the area, and also looking at my character's like background, and thinking about like I have some background details I'll probably want to hammer out with you a little bit. But I'm thinking because of my my character's focus of her expertise and what language she speaks, like loosely kind of like a Parseltongue situation where it's not super encouraged, and so
Okay.
she has decided to go live in a forest elsewhere on her own, away from like her family where she was raised. So maybe I'm in the vicinity, just kind of like trying to be a general member of the community, but that's really loose. So
Yep.
riff away.
Let me think.
I have an idea.
Okay, throw it out there.
So Sarah, if your character's in the general vicinity, I would assume that your character may have noticed that it hasn't stopped raining for like 4 days.
Possibly.
Yep.
And maybe you would have like come down from whatever forest you're hanging out in to see if you can figure out what's going on. And I'm very visibly just walking around the like perimeter of this rainstorm that I have caused.
Yeah.
Very pissed.
It could be as easy as that, Sarah. Like you could have done what you said, but like you sort of were encouraged to leave your community. You went off to try and be a hermit, but you've noticed that it has not stopped raining around this town. You're bored, so you get curious and you go down there and you see Freya walking around and you're like, man, fuck it, and you go ask them what's up. Like it can be that easy. We can also
That's my character.
Yes, yeah. We can also say this is what happens right now. We can get into the campaign and find another reason later that would make it really interesting to have done this history a little bit different. And because I can do whatever I want, and we haven't actually played through any of this, we've just talked about it in session 0, we could change how you guys meet up later. But I think it's fun to go through this thought exercise so that you can have some basic relationships, right? Like even through this, we've decided that Freya and Winnie are awkward. Freya causes problems. Winnie causes problems. Sometimes they fix them. Yume kind of sweeps in and is like, "Oh, hi guys," and fixes them, right? And Battle is sort of like, "What's happening? Why? Right? Does that sound good?
Sounds real good.
I'm very excited about this.
Yes.
Can't commit to fixing things. Can commit to wanting to and trying to.
Yeah,
Being
wants
sent.
to fix things. Yeah. Okay.
That sounds like that she will fit in very, very well then. It's a party of people wanting to fix things.
Yeah, and you all seem to have different reasons for wanting to fix things too, which I think is very interesting. So Stream, I asked them to try and build a party of like relentless heroes that just wanted to save everyone, and I really like the interpretation you guys have come up with. I said something really vague, and you've all given it a really interesting intent. All right, so we have hit. We are a little past time. I want you guys to know that at the end of my sessions, I usually ask, I like to use a mechanic called a role-playing point. So this is the last thing I'll ask for your agreement on. The way the role-playing point works in my world is everybody in this, all of you guys will nominate a really good role-playing moment. You do not need to think of one for each person. I'd rather, if you're gonna say multiple, just keep it to one or two. Needs to be bullet pointable. I'll put it in the session chat, and then you'll each have one vote by emoji on which moment was just the best of the evening. And then whoever gets the highest votes, you get a role-playing point that you can use in the next session, and it's just advantage on a roll once, and then it's gone. And if you don't use it that session, then it disappears forever. Does this sound interesting to you guys?
Yes, I like it a lot.
I like using it because it lets you guys share like your favorite moments, and it tends to, it's very validating in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Am I correct in interpreting this as it is the inspiration mechanic, but granted by vote at the end of the session?
Yeah. Inspiration is handled a couple of different ways. I think like the bardic inspiration tends to be like a D4 of some kind or a D6. And the way that I'm the way I'm using it is in the campaign, if somebody does something particularly cool, GMs can be like, I'll give you advantage on that roll because of X, Y, or Z. And instead of it being interpreted by me, I like having it be a loose advantage that you can use at any point in the session. Does that make sense?
Yes, understood.
Cool. Sarah, Hannah, are you good with this?
Yep, all good.
Cool. I saw a yes from Sarah in her web captions. Cool. Okay, so all right, so we will meet again next Saturday. We'll figure out the times, but probably around the same time. I'm going to try and keep these sessions to under 3 hours because I can't sit still for very much longer. I'll talk with you guys offline. I'll have some follow-up with you guys offline about your characters. Our goal for next session will be to start the adventure, which means I'll be syncing with each of you about your character sheets around stats and like things that need to be filled in or questions we have, but I really think that we can start the next adventure fairly comfortably at this point. Does anyone have thoughts they want to share on that, or things they would really want to resolve before next session or anything like that?
I do not. I'm very excited to get starting.
Cool.
All good from this angle.
Great. I am definitely looking... Sarah says I am stoked. Great. Tyler?
All clear.
Great. I'm definitely looking forward to the session starting because I don't talk as much. My throat hurts. Okay. So Stream, do you have any questions or concerns before I let you guys go? Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I hope to see you guys in the next session because we'll actually be doing stuff. They'll be talking to non-player characters. They'll be settling into their roles. They'll be making choices. They'll be rolling dice. It's going to be cool, so please join us next Saturday. Always check on my Twitter for if we're actually playing. It's always intended play, but sometimes people get sick, and if that happens, that happens. So definitely check on the Twitter if you don't find us on here. Art by Rhoda said, this was cool, looking forward to catching what I can. Awesome. Tech Soup said, butts. All right, so with that, we're going to end the stream. Again, thank you everybody for joining us, and we're all going to say goodbye. Bye!
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 Bye.